Hi everybody, I'm Liz Heiman. Welcome to the Sales Expert channel. Today we're going to talk about positioning your company for success. I want to welcome you all. I don't know where you're all from, but if you want to take a minute and tell me who you are and where you're from, I would love to hear that. So feel free to find the question center, the question section, and let me know who you are and where you're from. So I want to tell you a little bit about the Sales Expert channel. The Sales Expert channel has an amazing group of sales experts who are on regularly sharing information with you about how to get the most out of your sales organization and your sales efforts. So I encourage you to look through the list, find some great presenters, and listen to their presentations. If you have any questions, I want to encourage you to go ahead and use that question section and ask anything you want. I may not answer it right away, but I will answer it at some point. And if you have trouble hearing, there's a button on your screen somewhere that says I'm having trouble hearing. And then please go ahead and let them help you figure that solution out. It would be great to know right now if everybody can hear. Go ahead. I'm not seeing anything, so let me know if you can hear what I'm saying by telling me who you are and where you're from. And there's a Bright Talk help button. That's the one. If you can't figure out how to make something work, please reach out to them. You'll find at the end of this there are attachments and links if you'd like to follow along in the webinar. The presentation is in the attachments, so go ahead and pull that up and you can join and follow along with me and take notes if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, you can download all of it later. There's some great articles and such there for you. So, positioning your company for success. Before I start talking about that, what I want to share with you is my personal mission. And my personal mission is to take the mystery out of sales and to make sales manageable and predictable. Sales should not be a mystery, and it shouldn't be magic. It should be something you understand and can manage and can predict. And so that's what we want to work on a little bit today, and we're going to do that by talking about positioning. And when I talk about positioning, I'm talking about a lot of different things. We often think about positioning in terms of branding, but I actually want to talk about positioning in a number of different ways. I want to talk about positioning in all of the different ways that you as a salesperson or a sales leader or a company leader will be organizing and presenting your company so that you are successful. So let's think about what are some of these things. When I talk about positioning, I mean positioning your company and products properly in the marketplace, which is typically what people think about in terms of positioning. But there's more to positioning than that. I also want to talk about positioning your solutions in relationship to your customers' problems. Now, you probably haven't heard that said quite that way before, but we often think about our product in relation to our customers, but we really need to think about it in terms of our customers' problems, because that's how they think about their life and how they talk about your solution. Not about your solution, but about how it works with what they're doing. Then we're going to talk about how you're positioned in terms of the sale. How are you positioned with all of the buyers? How are you positioned in terms of getting the sales close that you need by the end of the quarter or the year? So we're going to talk about all of those things. We talked about positioning. So we have a lot to do. I'm going to just keep moving through it quickly. If you have a question, please put it up there because I'm going to be moving fast. So the very first thing we need to think about when we're thinking about positioning is who is buying and why. Why do people buy? So before we do this, I'm going to do a couple things. First is I'm going to put up our very first survey, and I want to ask you and have you answer a question. So my question to you is, have you ever been out walking down the street and you thought, oh my goodness, what I need, what I want more than anything else in the world is a 3/4 inch bolt. Did you ever think that? I seriously want you to fill out the poll. So did you ever just stop and think, nothing would make me happier than a 3/4 inch bolt? And I'm not getting answers here, but my guess is that doesn't happen very often in your world. That you don't just walk along the street and dream about 3/4 inch bolts. So people just don't buy that way, right? Oh, so we have 50% said no and 50% said, are you kidding? Because the truth of the matter is we don't think that way. We also don't think, oh my gosh, right now what I want to do more than anything in the world is spend some money on some software. That would make me so happy. I don't wake up one day and go, oh, I want a customer relationship management system. That would make me happier than anything in the world. What I do is say, oh my goodness, I have a problem. If I'm thinking about a customer relationship management system, maybe I'm thinking my salespeople are not giving me the information I need to predict my outcomes. So I need a program to put that information into so I can predict sales, so I can run this company. But I'm not thinking, oh, I want to spend money on a CRM. That's just not how people think. Okay, so one of you actually did say that you dream about bolts, and I would love to hear that story, but I'm not going to go into it right now. Anyway, so people buy because they have a problem. And when we talk to them about their problem, they're a lot more likely to purchase from us. So we call this a value proposition, and I'm going to talk about value propositions quite a bit as we move further down this process. But your value proposition is essentially all about your customer's problem. So if I were thinking, so let's go back to that 3/4 inch bolt for a minute. So let's say I invited you all to dinner, and you came to dinner, and I invited you to sit on my beautiful patio or my beautiful lanai, whichever you refer to it as. And I said, oh, and by the way, be very careful when you put your glass down because the table wobbles. And I don't want you to spill anything. I haven't figured out how to fix this, and I might have to buy a new table, but please just be very careful. And then you look at me and you say, oh, Liz, I know what would fix that. A 3/4 inch bolt. Now guess what? I want a 3/4 inch bolt. And I want it bad, right? I really want it badly because I have this table that wobbles, and chances are I don't even care how much you charge me to go get that 3/4 inch bolt and put it in for me, right? So if you were just trying to sell me 3/4 inch bolts out of the blue, you probably couldn't get me to get more than a couple pennies out of my pocket. But if you can fix this table for me, wow, now I want to pay for that. I want to pay for you to solve my problem. So when we're talking to our customers about our product, we have to talk about it in relation to their problem, not in relation to our product and what we can do and what all of our special features and functions and so forth are. So if the why matters, then you got to know the who matters, right? So often when I'm talking to people about their business, one of my first questions that I ask is, who is your ideal customer? Who do you sell to? And inevitably, the answer I get starts with everybody who. Everybody who has an office. Everybody who uses paper. Everybody who has a sales team. And I'm going to argue that anytime your who starts with everybody, you're missing the point. So let's pretend for a minute that that you own a motorcycle shop, and you need to sell these Honda motorcycles, right? Hang on, I'm going to get you there. So let's say you sell Honda motorcycles like these. And I have a question for you. if you sell Honda motorcycles, these very fast motorcycles, what are the chances that you are going to sell one of these Hondas to this Harley biker? You know, they're fast, they're cool, they're bright. I'm wondering, is that going to appeal to this guy? So, you know, here's a guy who's all dressed in black. Doesn't look like he really wants to lean over the front of his bike, right? So how many of you do you think, and I put this out there for you to vote on, how many of you think that you could sell this Honda to this Harley biker? So I haven't got any answers up here. They're coming up now, but let me know because I'm really curious. So the issue here is about the who. So about 50% of you say it will be tough, but I'd give it a chance. And one of you says, why would I want to? And for me, that's kind of how I feel about it, right? Why would I want to try to sell a Honda to this guy when I could be selling a Honda to some 22-year-old or 26-year-old who loves fast bikes and wants to do trick riding and loves to get all tricked out in his fancy riding outfit with all the leathers. And, you know, why would I try to sell it to this Harley guy when it would be so much easier to sell it to this other guy? Now, if I'm selling Harleys, he's the first on my list, right? So I'm glad most of you do not want to try and sell to him, but I want you to think about this guy every time you say everybody's who, because our ideal customer is really the people who are most likely to buy from us. They're the people who have a problem that best fits the solution that I provide, and they are, if they looked at all of the other opportunities out there to buy, they're going to see that mine is the best for them. So I want to really understand who I'm selling to, so I can make sure when I'm having that conversation, they agree, you know what, your solution is the best one for me. It's not the best one for the Harley rider. It is the best one, or for the biker, it is the best one for a 23-year-old guy who, you know, loves fast bikes and all of that gear. So we want to be sure we're selling to the right person, which means we have to know our customer. So when you're thinking about your ideal customer profile, I want you to think about things like, do you sell business to business or business to consumer? Do you know what industry? If you're selling business to business, what industry are you selling to? If you're selling to people, individuals, to consumers, what age group? What economic, what socioeconomic status? What kind of income? Who are you selling to? You might want to think about the geography. Where are these people? Will it be easier or harder for me to sell to them if they're from someplace inconvenient? Maybe I just want a small geography that I'm selling to. If it's a company, how big is the company? If the technology that I'm selling has to integrate with technology they already have, you know, how is that going to work? If I sell Apple stuff, I'm going to be hard pressed to sell it to somebody who uses all Microsoft or Dell or whatever. So I really want to understand how what I'm selling is going to be impacted by all of these other criteria. So when I'm thinking about my ideal customer profile, if I sell to the right size company, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about B2B. Before I do this, let me ask you another question. How many of you have a B2B complex sale? Meaning you sell business to business and your sale requires multiple people to be involved in the buying decision. It's maybe very expensive, and maybe it's going to change the way they do things in that company. So can you guys share with me, do you have a business-to-business complex sale? Yes, no, but it's not very complex, or no, I sell to consumers. Will you let me know so I can tailor my conversation a little bit? I'm going to go back over here while you guys are voting. And if I have a business-to-business complex sale, then if I'm selling to the right size company in the right industry, and I'm selling them the right technology for what they're doing, in the right geography, to companies with the right philosophy, then I am likely to be more successful, which means I'm going to have a shorter sales cycle. I'm going to have more repeat business. I'm going to have more referrals. I'm going to have better profit margins. I'm going to have all the things I really want. So the closer I am to selling to my ideal customer, the more successful I will be in my selling efforts. So identifying who your ideal customer is, really thinking about that and narrowing it down is going to make your sales efforts easier and more profitable, and it will bring you more business. So the easiest business we will ever have is selling to customers who we already have, who are happy with us. So making sure you're selling to your ideal customer is really important. And so what I want to say is it looks like most of you have a B2B complex sale. Some of you don't, so I will try to include both when I'm talking to you. So there are other things that we want to think about. So the first things I shared with you were demographics, but there's also what we call psychographics or other factors that impact whether somebody is a really good ideal customer. So for instance, an ideal customer is probably not somebody who has problems with cash flow unless I sell a solution that solves cash flow problems, right? Because we want to be paid. And it might be that my particular solution requires some employee continuity, so I don't have to keep going back and training and getting people to use the product, right? So if that matters to me, then I want to be sure to check and make sure my companies that I'm going to be working with have good employee continuity, that they're, whatever growth trajectory they're on matches what I'm selling. I might want to know about what kind of vendor relationships they have and what kind of values they have to decide whether there's a good fit between what they do or what I do and what they're buying, and whether that relationship in the long run is going to be profitable and repeatable and all that good stuff. So we want demographics and we want psychographics when we're talking about building our ideal customer profile. So once we have that ideal customer profile, then we can create a target list. And what I want to suggest to you is that probably your target list, the people who fit the demographic, is going to be pretty large. And what we want to do always when we're selling is narrow down our efforts. So even when we're doing marketing, that's kind of directed marketing, we want to narrow down our efforts so that we're using the right language to the right people in the right way. And particularly when we're selling, if somebody hands me a list of 10,000 leads, there's nothing I can do with it. I'm overwhelmed. How would I even pick? So as a business leader or as a sales leader, if you can help narrow that prospect list to say 10 or 100 leads for each person, or target companies, not leads, but target companies for each person, that would be really helpful. Now you can figure out how to prioritize time, right? So you can say, hey, there are 10,000 out there. I'd like you to focus on these. We're going to have marketing market out to all the others, but we want sales to really focus in on these because we believe that they're the best fit using our ideal customer criteria. Maybe we think that there are critical priorities because they have name value we can leverage. Maybe they're a Google, and we want to be able to say, hey, we work with Google. But what it allows us to do when we do that is to focus efforts, focus time, focus resources, and get better results. So the more you can help your sales team focus, the more effective they will be. Now that's true whether you're selling to business-to-business complex or you're selling to consumers. The more specific you can be in your sales effort, the more focused, the better results you'll get. So identify your ideal customer profile and then make a list of who you want to start with. And then get through that and make another list. Narrow your efforts, you'll get better results. So, and how is that positioning? Because we're positioning ourselves with the companies that matter. So once we have identified who our ideal customer is and we've identified our target market, we really want to think about our roadmap for success, for sales success. So let's start thinking about that for a minute. To me, if you want to be successful, you really need to have a clear vision and mission. You need to understand your marketing positioning. You need a clear sales strategy. You need sales positioning, meaning how are you positioned with your customers, and you need good funnel positioning. So I want to talk about all of those things because that's going to be our roadmap to success. So I want to ask a question here before we start talking about vision. How many of you have a clear written vision? Let's talk about what a vision is. So a vision is, it's sort of the big picture about where you want to go and what you want to do. So when I talk to leaders, they often tell me, oh, everybody knows my vision. I talk about it all the time. And then I go to their salespeople and I say, okay, tell me what the vision is. They have no idea. And so what we want to do is make sure that our salespeople understand our vision. So why does that matter? Well, let's think about a vision. A vision is, why am I building this company? What do I want to do with this company? How do I want to change the world with my company, or my little piece of the world with my company? It includes how I want to grow, where I want to grow. It includes how big I want the company to be. It includes how I want to relate to customers. It includes all kinds of things about what this company is going to be. And your team needs that. So why does your team need that? I'm going to tell you a real quick story. When I used to work at Miller Heiman, I was working with companies like Hewlett Packard and Johnson Controls and PricewaterhouseCoopers and other big companies, really professional sales teams. And I would do this 2-day program with them, and in the midst of the program, they would have to stop and say, I just have to tell you, you're telling us all this work we want to do, but every time we turn around, the leadership of this company is undermining our sales efforts. They're discontinuing products that our customers like to buy. They're changing the way we go to market. They're introducing new products our customers aren't interested in. And I sit and I listen to this and I think, wow, what we have is a misunderstanding of the company vision. So if, for instance, I'm Hewlett Packard and I'm thinking, wow, what we really want to do is move people from this idea of being desk-bound and office-bound and introduce this concept of flexibility and Bluetooth and web and paying online and all of these kinds of things that change the way you interact with your printer, then I need to tell that story. We don't want to be a desk-bound printer. We want to work in a world where people are agile and move around and can work from anywhere. And so we are making all of these changes so we can bring our customers into the 21st century, right? If I haven't told that story, my salespeople are standing out there feeling alienated and frustrated instead of being able to say to the customers, I know you really like doing this way, but this is what's coming, and here's why we're making these changes, and here's why you should be really excited about it. And then we can bring our customers with us. So if you don't have a clear vision, your sales team doesn't have a clear vision, and all the rest of your team doesn't have a clear vision. So I encourage you to get that vision written down and shared. Get it written down so people get it. They see how they fit into it. So it looks like most of you still have a foggy vision. So please take the time to think about that. The next thing, so here's some, in real simple words, your vision is, what do you hope to achieve? What are you creating? How big do you want this to be? Those are the kinds of questions we ask when we have a vision. The next thing I want to ask you about is mission, right? So I wonder, again, how many of you have a mission statement. And if you're the salespeople, do you know your company's mission statement? And does it match what's actually going on in the world around you, you know, in your company? So why do we need a mission? So our mission tells us, or tells the world, what we sell, who we sell it to, and why we do it. When we fully understand that, we can identify who the right people are and the reasons that they want to interact with us. So it's really important to have a mission that my salespeople, that my whole team, and that my customers understand. This is not about having, you know, it's not a tagline. It's not a sales, it's not a marketing piece. It's a tool that helps us to understand that, to help us understand how and why we're interacting with the people that we're interacting with. And so I know a lot of people now are saying, oh, missions are old-fashioned and we don't really need one. And I think it's probably true that you don't need a mission statement as part of your marketing collateral, but you do need a message to your team about what you sell, who you sell it to, and why you sell it. That will help you build your value proposition later. It will also help your team make good decisions about prioritizing who they should be selling to. So it looks like from the things that people have written that we still have some work to do on our value on our mission, and that's okay. But I want you to not think about it, like I said, don't think about it as a marketing exercise. Think about it as a roadmap exercise. How does this help my team be successful? And I think one of the reasons that missions have become old-fashioned, and you know, we think about them as an old-fashioned tool, is because of the way we started to use them. And if we use them for what they were meant for, which is to help direct our team and to help our team understand, they are very powerful. So the next thing that I'm going to talk to you about is positioning. So if we have this roadmap, we understand the overall vision, we understand the mission. I would love to put some stuff in there about values, but we don't need that right now. But the next thing is, how is your product positioned in the marketplace? So you may not have really thought about this clearly, and I think it's really, really important because, again, it helps your salespeople know what to do, and it helps your customers know when they should be looking at you. So I want you to imagine for a second, that you need a pair of athletic shoes of some sort, and you walk into the shoe store and it looks like this. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, where do I even start? Look at all these shoes. I just need a pair of walking shoes, or I just need a pair of court shoes, or I just need this. And you're looking at this going, how am I going to pick? Well, the companies that are selling to you have tried to make that easy for you with their positioning. So if you think about it, and if you were in the room with me and I asked you and I said to you, hey, tell me how Nike is positioned, you would all probably tell me, oh, Nike is for everybody. Nike's the just do it. Just put on your shoes and go run, right? Some of you will say, oh, Nike is your, you know, release your inner athlete. They're really, you know, just do it. Release your inner athlete. They're pretty clear about how they want you to see them. If you're an athlete, you go to Nike because that's the first choice, right? But what if you want court shoes? Or what if you want cleats? Maybe you get Nikes, but when I say that to people and they're in the room with me and I say, what if you need cleats, what are you going to get? Most people tell me they're going to get Adidas. And there's a long, long story about Adidas back in Germany and how they got started. It's actually a great story. But if you want cleats, you're likely to think Adidas because that's how they position themselves in the marketplace. They've also tried to position themselves as a court shoe. If I want to buy, I can tell you the only time I can ever find tennis shoes is if I find Adidas, right? So I think of Adidas. That's how they are positioned in the marketplace. Cleats, court shoes. What if I'm a skateboarder? Then I want want something altogether different. And so Vans has positioned themselves in the marketplace as the shoe for skateboarders and longboarders and whatever other, right? So when you think about your positioning, I want you to think about, are you the Nikes or maybe you're the Rykas? So Ryka is specifically for women. They design their shoes for women. Or maybe you're the Asics. Maybe you're really for running. Or somebody told me the other day, some brand was for old people. I don't remember what it was, but it made me laugh. So, you know, how are you positioned in the marketplace? And if you think you're a young people's shoe, but your customers think that you're for old people, then you really missed the mark, haven't you? So I want to ask you again, how many of you have really thought about your positioning, and is your team really clear about how you are positioned in the marketplace? So while you're doing that, I want to talk a little bit more about defining market position. So you might be the high-tech solution, or you might be the environmental solution, or maybe you're the luxury hotel, or maybe, you know, you're the computer for the average Joe, or maybe you're the SaaS program that's the simplest one to use. How are you positioned in the marketplace? So when people think of you, what category do they put you in? So I'd love to see what your answer is to that. I don't think that we typically do a really good job with positioning unless we have a great marketing team, because it's a little hard to conceptualize. But it's super important because you want to position yourself in the marketplace in relation to your customers' problems, but you also want to position yourself a little bit in relation to your competitors, right? So if your competitor is all about court shoes and you're all about great running and walking shoes for women, there are two different positionings. So are you really clear about how you're positioned in the marketplace? And I'm not getting any answers, which I'm going to take as you're not really very clear about your positioning. Once you have thought about your positioning, then you can start thinking about your value proposition. Oh, good. Some of you are really clear on your positioning. That's great. So let's think a little bit about value proposition. So positioning is how we want people to think about us. And value proposition has more to do with what we talked about earlier, which is how am I positioned in relationship to my customer-specific problem? So here I have a picture of a very, very tired athlete who clearly just ran an entire marathon or something equivalent, and she is so thirsty she's drinking Gatorade because nothing else will do. So let's think about, why do you think she's drinking Gatorade? What made her say, I have this problem, I am so exhausted and dehydrated and worn out from this race that the one thing that's going to solve my problem is Gatorade. Well, if we think about Gatorade's value proposition, it becomes really clear. Again, their value proposition, their positioning in the market, we can think about all of those things. So Gatorade doesn't position themselves as what you should drink when you're driving in the car to go from Connecticut to Massachusetts, right? They think about their position for athletes. And their value proposition probably sounds something like, when you have completely depleted your body after a long, excruciating workout, nothing will replenish you the way Gatorade will. We specifically created a drink to help replenish your body after a hard workout. So my problem is, I've had a really hard workout, I'm exhausted, I'm thirsty, I'm electrolyte deficient, and I really need to be rejuvenated. And so if that's the case, you have a solution for me. You have Gatorade with all the electrolytes and sugar I can use to bring me back to life. And so now you've spoken very clearly to me about my problem. What you're not selling me is, oh, Gatorade comes in all these flavors and it's really good and it's really good for you and blah, blah, blah. No, you are depleted, drink your Gatorade. In fact, they are so good at this that if you've ever been to a soccer game, I don't know, it may be different now, but way back when I was a soccer mom for a minute and a half, we had to bring Gatorade because our children, after running around the field, were so depleted. If we were good moms or good dads, we would bring Gatorade, not water, right? So they've really done a good job helping us to understand what problem they solve. And I want you guys to be able to be that clear about your value proposition and what problem you solve for your clients. Okay, so it looks like most of you need to really start thinking about your value proposition. Oh no, we're sorry, you're still talking, sorry, my bad. I'm still looking at the thing, the voting on positioning, and it looks like most of you really need to work on getting your positioning clear. Some of you have it dynamite, and for the rest of you, work on that. It's critical. I could ask you the same thing with your value proposition, and maybe I will in just a second. But we're running out of time here pretty quickly, and I want to move on to talking about positioning yourself in the buying situation. So many of you said that you were in had a business-to-business complex sale. And if that's the case, positioning yourself in your complex selling situation is critical to your sales success. So back you go. So if you are selling into this organization, who in this organization is going to be involved in the buying decision? If we don't know this, then we are not able to position ourselves. Once we do know this, we're able to figure out how are we going to position ourselves with these people to be successful. So it's possible in a complex sale that you could be talking to the CEO, you could be talking to the CIO, you could be talking to tech people, you could be talking to the users, you could be talking to the managers of the users, you could be talking to the accounting department, you could be talking to the delivery department, and you could be talking to multiple people within those. So before you think about, before you are able to be successful in a complex selling situation, you really need to figure out who you will be buying from and how you're positioned with them. One of the biggest mistakes we make when we have a complex sale, meaning multiple buyers in the buying decision, is that we position ourselves with one or two people, and we think that those people are going to be able to help us close that sale. And what we often miss is that those people are not well enough positioned in their company to get us the results that we need, and that it's our responsibility to figure out how to position ourselves with all of the different people in the buying decision. Now, if we could talk about the different kinds of buying influences, it doesn't really matter. In every buying decision, there's going to be somebody who has the final sign-off. They're going to be the people who use and manage the product that you're selling, and they're going to be the people who are sort of gatekeepers that have to check off boxes before you can sell to them. You need to know the different kinds of buying influences, and you need to understand, or sometimes you call them personas, sometimes you call them buyers. You need to understand how are those people related to the solution that you're selling. What problem do they have in relation to what you're selling, and what role do they have in the buying decision? And if you can't answer all of those questions, you're not likely to be successful consistently in your sales efforts. So we want to think about positioning ourselves with buyers in terms of, do we have the right contacts? How can you find more of the right contacts? What do you know about these contacts? How can you get to know them better? What are they interested in? How can you add value to their busy lives? You've got to know all about these people so you can make the right relationships, say the right things, and have them trust you, and so they'll buy from you. So the final piece of this is, how are you positioned across the funnel? And that's really important, because the funnel is the tool that we use to manage our leads. And some people call it a pipeline, and I don't call it a pipeline because I think that if you have a pipeline, that means you can turn the faucet on and turn the faucet off. And in fact, that's not the way sales work. Particularly if you have a complex sale or a long sales cycle, you have to put stuff in the top and you have to nurture it through the buying process and make sure that you're communicating with people all through their decision making until you get to the very end. And you have to know the math that makes this work. So I'm wondering, I just put up another poll. How many of you know your company's sales math? So do you know how much sales revenue you need? Do you know how many sales it takes to make that much revenue? Do you know how many leads at each stage in the funnel you need to have in order to get the revenue that you need each quarter, each month, each quarter, each year? Do you know how many sales qualified leads you need in order to get the sales you need? Do you know how many marketing qualified leads? Do you know how many activities you need to do? This is a very mathematical process. And if you don't know your sales math, you are not going to be able to plan your sales year and predict your results. But by knowing your sales math, you'll be able to. And I know this is a really short explanation. If you'd like more information about sales math, I would be happy to talk to any of you about what your sales math is and how you can figure that out and make it work for you. So we're coming to the end of our time. A quick, write these down if you want to reach out to me. I'm happy to meet with any of you to answer any of your questions. I don't tweet very often, but you can tweet. You can send me a LinkedIn invitation. I love LinkedIn invitations. You can call directly to the office and let them know you'd like to make an appointment with me. You can actually send me an email, liz@alisheiman.com, and I will answer your questions, or I will set up an appointment with you so we can talk. So I don't know if any of you have any additional questions at this point. I'm going to hang out for just a little while until it's going to close in about 3 minutes, but I'm just going to hang out here and see if any of you have any questions. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I'm so grateful that you chose to spend a little bit of your day with me. And Jim, if you're still there, thanks for coming to visit with me. I will see you next time I'm in Hawaii, and we will get your team working on value propositions. All right, everybody, I'm signing off. Have a great day.